All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is the Ghana Agenda. My name is Alfred Amuzu, and today we'll be talking about election 2020. So we'll be looking at the candidates Nana Akufo-Addo, our current president, and the former president, who's also a candidate on the ticket of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama. We'll be looking at their two records. In fact, instead of we do the talking for them, we would have the campaigns actually provide, or we'll play the campaigns' final messages to the electorate. In addition to that, we'll be looking at some of the constituencies that we'll be paying attention to during this election season. Remember, we on the Ghana Agenda would be live on Tuesday, and we'll be showing the results live. We'll be providing the results live as they get declared at the constituency levels. We'll be collecting, tabulating, and perhaps reporting to you who wins what seats, whether there's an NPP candidate winning or the NDC candidates winning in the individual constituencies. All that will bring to you live on Tuesday, the 9th of the 8th of December. But today, we want to listen to what the final messages are and whether those messages are resonating with you, the voter, as you go to make your decision or as you go to cast your vote. Again, we'll be bringing a friend of mine who I like to talk to when, I want to cut through all the noise of the various campaigns and get straight to the fact. We would be asking Frank Anderson, who's a friend of mine, very, celebrated, opinion journalist himself, to give us what he thinks about the two campaigns and the final messages and how they resonate with him. If he was voting, what would have influenced his vote. So this is what we table for discussion today. Again, this is the Ghana Agenda. Meet me on the other side, and we would jump right into the program. The first candidate today that we would be listening to is John Dramani Mahama. We would like to see we would like to hear what he has to say about education, energy, doomsaw, because there is a speculation that when he comes back, there will be doomsaw. There's also speculation that he did not actually cure doomsaw. So we want to hear from him and what he has to say. So take it away, Mr. President.
You should just see Nanado go around. His only message is free SHS, that's all, and that's what he keeps happening. But even the implementation has been poor, and so we are saying that we're trying to make it better because we must work to take the double track away. It's putting a lot of inconvenience on parents. Children come stay at home for as long as 3 months or more, and when they stay at home, a lot of parents who care about their children's education have to go and get teachers to do extra studies. And the intention of free SHS was to take the burden of parents in paying any fees at all. And so if you take the burden of paying fees off them, and yet because their children have to stay for a prolonged period in the house, and so because of that they have to pay a teacher to teach, then it means that it ends up being the same cost 90 work. Zero work done. So we are going to work to take the double track away. And one of the things that Nana Akufo-Addo should have done was to have continued the community day school concept that we brought in. Because even without the 43 I commissioned before I left office, about another 50 were at different stages of completion, needed just a little more to complete them. Some had been roof, doors and everything put in, was just left to plaster, paint and all that. And so he could easily have brought about 100 of those schools, on track if he had continued from where we left off. But even the 43 we finished, those that are operational have helped to ease the congestion in the existing secondary schools. First of all, I'm surprised that a lawyer like Nana Akufo-Addo can equate review to abolish or cancel. Review means, at every stage. Recently, the Conference of Heads of Assisted Senior Secondary Schools came out and asked the government to review the policy in order to address the bottlenecks and challenges. Any policy you have, after a while, you need to sit and look at it again and see what the challenges are, and then you review it so that it performs better. And so it was in that context I used the word review. But of course, he has refused stubbornly to understand what review means, and he says in his own understanding, review means to cancel or to abolish. Of course, with free SHS, more kids are coming into secondary school. And most of our secondary schools do not just have enough space to accommodate them. And each of these new community day schools has the capacity to take close to 1,000 students. And so if we even finish 100 of them, that would be 100,000 students who could easily, have been put in other schools and ease the congestion in the existing schools, so that then you can take your time and expand the capacity in those. What he decided to do was to expand the capacity in the existing schools and abandon the e-schools, But when we come, we will fast track the completion of those schools. How did the strong, resilient economy that Nana Akufo-Addo and Bawumia talked about crumble in the space of, let's say, 6 months? I mean, they were waxing lyrical about how strong this economy was and things have never been so good for Ghana. I mean, how come within 6 months of just a coronavirus pandemic, the whole economy has collapsed completely? We are facing the worst economic situation probably in the entire history of, I wouldn't even say probably, in the entire history of the Fourth Republic. The economy has never been this bad. And you see, when you have a hole and you're hiding it, you understand? Eventually, when reality catches up, you will find that that hole will be exposed. There's been a hole in this economy, and I've kept saying it. This is not the first time I'm going to say it. The finance minister, who is the cousin of the president, has been cooking the books since 2017. He has this way of, and it's the first time we're having this strange presentation of budget. Our budget numbers from 1992 to date are the budget numbers for everybody, for Parliament, for the International Donor Organization, for everybody. And those are the numbers that are presented to the world. This finance minister comes and he has liabilities, big ones. Instead of calculating them and putting them in the budget, he brings them to the bottom and puts them at footnotes. And so he doesn't factor them in the budget. And so he can give you a deficit number that looks good. He can give you a debt to GDP ratio that looks good. He can give you, all his other fiscal statistics that look good. But as soon as you add the liabilities, one was the financial sector clean-out, and two is the energy sector debt. The energy sector debt, today he owes the independent power producers alone $1.5 billion. $1.5 billion. Those are the figures he's now put in the budget that are showing the kinds of numbers that are, and so he's been engaged in subterfuge. And sometimes very criminal subterfuge. I'll give you another example. In 2019, they didn't meet the domestic revenue target. You know what Oforiatta did? He made GRA go and borrow money from commercial banks and presented it and said, we met the revenue target. So when coronavirus struck, the commercial banks have been deducting the loan that they gave to show good figures for 2019. That is why the economy is worse than it is, because any revenue that comes, the commercial banks are taking their money back. And so some of these things have been very criminal, and I'm surprised that Professor Ade, as chairman of GRA, could connive to do something as criminal as this. The president knows about it. He's done nothing about it, And so yes, the economy is in a bad state. We handed him a much better economy. The energy sector has been the Achilles heel of this economy for a long time. And that was because of several factors, both in terms of power production and in terms of supply of petroleum products. And so if you remember, in the past, the Toll Debt Recovery Levy was introduced to try and resolve issues in the energy sector. Now, when we came into office, we had two problems, two situations. One, we had a generational deficit. Ghana was using close to 3,000 megawatts, 2,700, 2,800 at peak hours. And we could put into the system, maybe about 2,300 megawatts. So there was a deficit of about 500 megawatts. And that's what led to doomsday and power rationing. By end of 2015, we had brought in the car power ship, and then we had also brought in the Ameri plants. The two combined, generation plants covered the deficit. gone quite well, and we're quite confident. Our own assessment, of the outcome of the elections is that we will win the parliamentary election. I'm convinced of that. We are looking easily at anything between 143 and 145 seats. It might be more than that. So I believe we'll win the presidency.
All right, so you've heard from the former president. He talks about some of his achievements, some of the things he did when he was the president between 2012 and 2016, and some of the plans that he has for Ghana when he becomes president again on January of 2021. Now, it's up to you to make a judgment as to whether you believe those things that he said, whether those things actually resonate with you, and if you trust him with your votes. Again, before we go into actually deciding who perhaps is winning our votes or not, let's also listen to the vice president of the New Patriotic Party, or the current government. Mr. Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, take it away.
There is hope for thousands of JHS graduates who could not access senior high school, because President Akufo-Addo has implemented both free senior high school education and free TVET for our kids. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to remember, as you go into this election, that the NDC opposed and bastardized the free senior high school policy proposed by the President Nana Akufo-Addo. The massive investment in water and sanitation facilities in many rural and deprived communities by our government has resulted in 5,400 communities being declared open defecation free. No matter where you live in the country, the evidence shows that we have kept faith with the people of Ghana and delivered or are delivering on our promises. The job is by no means done. However, we still have more to do in our service of the good people of Ghana. We know the continuing faith it will require on your part and the responsibilities it places on us, but we do not ask for the renewal of our mandate in a vacuum. We ask on the basis of two convictions. We ask you to give us 4 more years, because our government, born out of the NPP under the leadership of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has kept faith with you, Ghanaians, by delivering on the commitments we made to you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard from the Vice President of the Republic, Mr. Dr. Bawumia. He gave us some of, the achievements that the government had chalked over the last 4 years, and for which they are asking you to cast your votes for them again to retain them in power. And again, the first person we heard from was John Dramani Mahama. Now, what I want to do is I want to bring into this conversation Mr. Frank Anderson Jr. Anderson is a friend of my childhood friend, actually. I used to learn a lot from him, especially when, there are all these confusing opposing sides in discussions that I need somebody to provide some clarity. He's the one I talked to. So today we are blessed and grateful to welcome Frank Anderson to the show, who would be helping us navigate some of what we've heard so far. So, Mr. Frank, the one question I wanted to ask you, and you can, of course, introduce yourself while you answer that, is whether, or what's the final messages that you're picking from the campaigns? What is resonating with you? If you listen to these two campaigns, what is your takeaway? What are your list of issues that you think the Ghanaians should be considering when they cast their votes on the 7th, which is just this Monday?
Hello, Alfred. Thank you very much for the invitation. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate you for the work you're doing. Now, without wasting any much time, I want to go straight into the question you asked. What final messages I'm picking from the campaign so far? Now, I can tell you there are lots of messages, but I've just narrowed it down to 5 major ones. First of all, the economy. 2, free SHS/free tertiary education, free primary health care, The third one is job creation and youth unemployment. Fourth one, trust. And the fifth one, corruption. So I'm going to start with the economy. Look, let's face it. 2021 is going to be a very difficult year for all of us, and especially for Ghana, in the context of Ghana. We know what coronavirus has done to the global economy. In the particular case of Ghana, we know our debt levels are estimated to get to 76.6% by end of 2020 due to excessive borrowing we've seen in the last few years. We also know that a lot of funding has gone into relief items for citizens. Businesses have been given stimulus packages. A lot of money has been spent on PPE, procurement of PPE, and so on and so forth. So that's a difficult choice to make when we get to January 2021. We also know businesses so far haven't been doing that well. The ones that have managed to survive the COVID, they've had to invest so much in COVID secure environments for their workers, their customers, and they have to put in certain measures. All these cost money, and it costs time, it costs resources, and so that has a serious implication on the revenue generation to the government. So that makes 2021 a very difficult year. And so whichever government comes into office in 2021, there are difficult choices to be made. So we should all brace ourselves to that. Now, the second item I pick on the campaign is a lot of free is being promised. Now, I'm quite excited with this free stuff. The reason being, it means that a lot of resources will be, put into these proposals. Free tertiary education, free SHS, which we know is already underway, and then free primary health care. What it means is that a lot of money will be invested in the people, in the services that the people need the most, leaving very little for the corrupt officials to be dipping their hands into or going into private pockets. So I'm quite excited about that. As to whether these proposals are feasible, we'll live to see. December 7th is not too far away. The other thing I'm picking on is job creation. A lot of youth unemployment. There's a lot of proposals coming up. And so we only hope that these proposals are costed and we know how much. I mean, in every civilized country or democracy, these things ought to be costed. We need to know how much, taxpayers' money is to be going into this. And so we can do the comparative analysis and see which ones make sense and which ones do not. Finally, the fourth item is trust. Out of the candidates who are most trustworthy, who is most trustworthy, these are things Ghanaians would have to decide on. Compare the two. Now, the final one is corruption, which is, for me, the most important thing we should think about. Look, Ghana belongs to all of us. And so when a few people come together and, to assign to them our heritage, natural resources, these are worrying. If we look at what has happened to the special prosecutor resigning over Ejapa, if you look at what has happened to, the Auditor General having to leave office, again, because of some contracts of some powerful individuals, we know what's happening in the system. So we're not new to corruption. But the funny thing is, Ghanaians would have to make a choice, between the two candidates as to who can better be trusted, looking at the records of both candidates. The records will always be compared. And these are some of the things I'm picking up on the campaign trail.
Okay, so Mr. Frank, the second question I have, and I think you did wonderful with all those questions. I wasn't sure whether you have a list when I even mentioned it, but it seems you are prepared. You have a list. You've been paying so much attention, which is good. And we wish that, every electorate in the country actually is analyzed and listening and picking points the same way you did and kind of broken them down for us. The second question I do have for you is, if you were voting today, if you were casting your vote, what would be that issue that actually, influences your vote? What would make you vote for Nana Akufo-Addo or vote for John Dramani Mahama?
I'll narrow them into four. First one is good governance. For me, good governance is everything. In the 21st century, the least expected of any government is good governance. Respect for institutions, tolerance, especially the independent institutions, tolerance, inclusiveness, and, you know, the space for us to practice our, you know, democratic experiment without any fear or favor. These are the things I look out for in any government I'll be voting for, or any leader I'll be voting for. Respect for institutions, good governance, tolerance. You know, I'll come to the issue of corruption later on. The second thing is corruption. Now we all know the level of corruption has you know, we can't even talk about it. And these are resources that are expected to go into developmental projects to provide essential services to citizens. And just a few and powerful people come together and arrogate to themselves those resources. The last few years has been really, it's been bad. Let's face it, it's been bad. And these are the choices we have to make. I will vote on corruption. You know, corruption deprives all of us from, you know, basic essentials citizens need, and these are some of the things I'll be voting on. I think it's fair to also say a lot of the moral society who we expect to speak up have been either cowed into fear, or they're just not confident in coming out and speaking about these issues of corruption. And anybody that speaks up, you know, we see a lot of intimidation, we'll see a lot of victimization, and so everyone is scared. Nobody wants to talk. So it's actually moved that into the culture of silence, which is not good for our democratic experiment. People must be allowed to express themselves. The media must be allowed to do their job without, you know, any harassment and intimidation. And that actually dovetails into my next discussion, which is free media, freedom of speech, human rights, you know, abuses, and so on and so forth. We've seen the last few years, particularly this morning, I read a news report that Star FM was built to have an interview with the Auditor General, Mr. Domelevo, and for some strange reasons, their, you know, service was interrupted. This is not the first time it happened to multimedia when they were due to air the PPA procurement expose. It happened to the former president when he was in Kumasi, I believe, or Takrady, one of them. It happened to the running mates, Nana Jin, Pokwa Jiman. And so these we are seeing these interferences, you know, in the you know, the media space. This is not good for our democracy, and that's one of the particular things I'll be voting on. What has happened is, you know, a lot of the media have been compromised. People have either been paid to shut up, or they're just scared to talk about anything related to corruption, or they just can't be bothered. And this, we cannot allow this to go any further. So that's one of the things I'll be voting on, given the chance. The third one is inclusiveness. Look, like I said, the resources of Ghana belong to all of us. It belongs to our generations after us. And so it's incumbent on all of us to make sure whatever resource where opportunities there are, it is shared across, you know, the length and breadth of the country. It doesn't have to depend on your political affiliation or the party card you hold. It doesn't have to depend on your lineage. It doesn't have to depend on your tribe. We should make sure the resources of Ghana is shared across the length and breadth of the country. We should make sure opportunity is made available to everybody, not just those in our political party or our political space, or those who belong to our tribe only. And so these are one of the most important things I'll be voting on if I'm given the chance to vote. Now, finally, security and safety. The use of the armed forces, you know, to intimidate citizens is one key thing I'm also picking up, and which would determine which way my vote goes if I'm to vote. the security forces, the armed forces of Ghana, they've sworn an oath of allegiance to Ghana to protect the citizens of Ghana from external aggression. And so for me, if any government or any politician or any state institution is using the same people we've given power and giving logistics to protect us as citizens, are now being turned against us to use them to intimidate citizens, I'm not having it. I'm just not having it. It has to stop. We have to press the reset button. We have to define the lines. And going back to the issue I raised regarding good governance, just backtracking a little bit. Look, I need a leader who will respect the independence of our constitutional bodies. That's the only safeguard we have. So for the likes of the Auditor General, the Special Prosecutor's Office, the SHRAJ, and all these independent institutions, they must be protected and respected. They must be allowed to do their job without fear and favor. But what we're seeing these days is, the marauding power of the executive has been brought to bear on their work, and which means all of them are scared. All of them are afraid to speak up, even to do their job. They lack that moral authority to work. And so these are the things I'll be voting on when I'm given the opportunity on December the 7th. We have to reset the button, like I said. Ghana is a democratic country, and there are rules of engagement in any democratic enterprise. The freedom of speech, human rights, people must just be allowed to carry on, with their day-to-day activities without fear or favor. So these are the things that will be affecting the way I vote. And I expect all Ghanaians to take their destinies into their own hands and make sure we make politicians know we employ them. We cannot be bullied around, in this 21st century. And these are the things I want to bring to the table in this discussion. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Okay, so thank you so much for agreeing to join us, and thanks so much for all that detailed information you were able to, first of all, gather in this short period and provide to us. We really appreciate it. We have a place for you here all the time. You come and help us when we have complicated issues and discussions that we want to break for our listeners. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard both campaigns. You've also heard my good friend Frank Anderson, and the only thing I wanted to add is this is a monumental or a time to remember. This is the one time we are actually voting in the middle of a pandemic, and so we don't want to be lost on that fact. So that our advice from this show is that everybody, when you go to your polling stations, that first of all you maintain your hygiene, stay away from people, or give some distance. Make sure you have your mask on. If you have a hand sanitizer, make sure you have it ready. If you don't have your own hand sanitizer, make sure you find one at the polling station. If somebody has one, get some, and of course sanitize yourself. By all means, keep yourself safe. We want to emphasize that. But also, we've heard so much. Now it's time to make a choice. We want to do this in peace. Let's not fight. There are places like Volta region and other parts of the country where there is going to be heavy military presence. Do not agitate the military. Even if they agitate you, please, just in the spirit of peace, love, and harmony. Vote, stay vigilant, stay at the polling station if you have to. If you don't have to stay at the polling station, there are representatives from each of the parties that are going to be monitoring, the counting. And so, go home when you're done with your election. Come back when the results are being counted, because in Ghana, that's what we do. We all gather at the polling station, count the results together. By all means, participate in that, but do it very peacefully. We only have one Ghana, and we want that one Ghana to still be there for us on 21st, on the 7th of January. And we want the presidents that will be electing, whether it's Nana Akufo-Addo we are retaining or we are bringing John Dramani back, we want to be able to support them peacefully. Ghana is touted for its democratic credentials, and we are not about to lose that. And it takes me and you acting peacefully in harmony and selecting and making our decision, or selecting our president. So let's go and do that. Now, in listening to all these campaign messages, all I want to again add to what we've heard so far is we've seen these two gentlemen, we've seen these two parties, even the actors, people involved, both Nana Addo and John Dramani Mahama. They do have a record. It's not like those days in 2016 where Mahama is talking about he built this, he built that, he built that. He has a green book that he was counting, and the opposition didn't have anything. And there were conversations about if you're talking about infrastructure, it's an exercise in mediocrity. That is not the case this time. This time we have infrastructure for infrastructure that we can match. We have records that we can match. So I would ask that all viewers of this program who will be participating in the election, that you analyze carefully which of these two campaigns or which of these two candidates is answering to what your needs are as a Ghanaian, what you want Ghana to be. And with that, if we can only keep our eye on that and vote on those bases, that we would have a good Ghana, a good country, good government to celebrate, to support peacefully, and to advance this country for the next 4 years. Now, if we don't do all that, if you go and believe that because somehow a party gave you money, that you would have to see them win by all means, whether through violence or not, then we wouldn't have a peaceful country. So we want to shy away from that. One advice, everybody to stay away from that. The two campaigns have given their final messages. You've heard from a third party who's not a member of any of this campaign, also gave you what he thinks the main issues are. For me, my number one issue is corruption. A lot has happened in these few days. If I was going to vote today, I will be voting because one party is more corrupt than the other. And that is just my opinion. You are free to make your own mind. This is what we encourage on the Ghana Agenda. You come on this show, it's independent-minded thinking. We are not affiliated with any political party. We are only affiliated to the truth. And that's what we'll be telling on a week-by-week basis. I wish you all luck. Go there and vote. And when you vote, and we're encouraging you to go vote, when you vote, the outcome will be favorable to your cause. And we pray that happens. Now, there are certain constituencies we're looking at, because these constituencies usually flip. These are constituencies that whoever wins in those constituencies become president. One of those constituencies is Klate Kole, which is the Ridge area, Osu area in Accra. The current member of parliament from that constituency is Zenator Ajiman Rawlings, which is daughter of Rawlings. I know her family is going through a lot, but she still have a campaign to run. So we are wishing her luck. Now, that is a constituency that, even though they voted for Zenator last time around, they voted for the NPP as the president. In other words, they voted for Akufo-Addo, but they chose Zenator as MP. So it's a very complicated constituency, and I believe this time around that perhaps it might stay the same or it might flip. So that's one of the ones we'll be watching. We'll also be watching Jomoro. Jomoro is in the western region. Jomoro is a constituency that Samia Nkrumah won back in 2008, I believe, first time she tried. That constituency is currently incumbent by an MPP candidate, and is being challenged by Mrs. Dorcas, who is the mother of Fantana. Remember Fantana, the musician? So we'll be watching that too, because this is a constituency that whoever wins that constituency actually becomes president. We'll be looking at a place like Shamai. Shamai is also in the western region. We'll be looking at Lejekuku in the greater Accra region. We'll be looking at Ayawaso West Wagon. Ayawaso West Wagon, interesting to us because of course, the impact of John Dumelo, and we want to see whether John Dumelo, in fact, is going to be able to flip that constituency for votes that comes from the central region to the NDC. So these and a few other constituencies as you see on the screen here will be the ones that we pay attention to. We'll be reporting live here on the 8th of December. So tell a friend to tell a friend. The Ghana Agenda is going to be live, and we'll be reporting votes by constituencies. We'll be reporting results by the constituencies. We'll be tabulating it all, and we would be telling you who's winning and who's not winning. We'll make sure that our votes are confirmed before we put it on air. If it is not confirmed, we'll come back and change it when the confirmations come in. But no matter what we do, we would be reporting the results of December 7th election here on the Ghana Agenda. Again, tell a friend to tell a friend. My name is Alfred Amuzu, and you are watching the Ghana Agenda. This, as we always say, is your favorite politician's favorite show. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on Tuesday when the elections are all over and we are doing the counting, and we would be welcoming you with your comments, feedback, and your participation. Again, Ghana Agenda, my name is Alfred Amuzu. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye-bye.